you've been following my Instagram account for the last couple of weeks, you'll actually have seen my brother and I did a bit of a machine polish on this car. We gave it a really good clean, went over the whole body with a clay bar, and then we went over the whole thing with a cutting compound, and then finally a polishing compound using a rotary polisher. And it brought the paintwork up really, really well, as you guys can see. It's still what I would call a 10-foot car, as in it looks really, really good from 10 foot away. If you get up close, there's still quite a few imperfections, but it's generally looking really, really good. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed though that this piece of trim is missing. That actually came off whilst we were polishing. It was already quite cracked and the adhesive was failing over time, so I've got another one ordered up from Powerful UK and we're going to fit that today. This is just going to be a quick video to show you a couple of quick jobs I've got to do on the Range Rover, and we'll talk about the plans I've got for it and what's going to be coming up in the next few weeks and months. Nothing too hectic today, so let's just do a bit of pottering around and get a couple of jobs done on the Range Rover. So before we get started on today's jobs, I just want to give the Range Rover a quick wash and a wax, because although we polished it last week, we didn't actually get a chance to stick a coat of wax on. So yeah, here we go.
Just ride all the way to the rainbow's end. Just ride, and we'll never turn our backs again.
So my approach for getting this foam and adhesive off of the top tailgate is going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to basically use some plastic scrapers to remove the worst of it, and then I've got some goo gone that I'm going to use to get rid of any leftover gunk and get it nice and clean. So let's give it a go. For some reason the tailgate strips on these cars always seems to go bad, and you'll see quite a few of them on the road with like sort of faded and chipped looking tailgate trim. So I don't know why that is, but luckily it's not too bad to replace. So you can also change the colour as well. You can go for a black or a matte black, if that's the kind of route you're going with your car. So that's got the majority of that stuff off. There's obviously still quite a bit of residue left on here. So next I'm going to use a bit of Goo Gone just on a bit of kitchen roll just to soften that adhesive that's still on there, and then hopefully we'll be able to scrape it off a lot easier. Let's give that a go. Just going to give that a bit of a rub in. And then try and do a bit of scraping. So there you go guys, quite a bit of scrubbing with Goo Gone and scraping with the plastic scrapers. All that adhesive is gone now, so you can't feel anything on there, which is really good because that means our new tailgate strip will stick on there really well and hopefully last for a long time. So now that adhesive is gone, I'm going to give it a quick wipe with this fast drying solvent just to get rid of any of the Goo Gone and any remaining little residues or traces on there. Just to make sure you've got nice clean paint for it to stick onto. So when you buy your new rear tailgate strip from Powerful UK, it comes in a tube like this, nice and well protected. Here's the actual strip itself. I went for titanium silver to match the lettering on the back of the Range Rover, and it's the original colour as well, so it just keeps it nice and stock looking. But it also comes with, but these kits also come with instructions too. And Powerful UK actually have their own video on how to fit one of these as well, which is really useful. That's on YouTube. Go and check them out if you haven't already. So once you're happy with the fit, just want to peel off the double-sided 3M tape that they come fitted with. There we go. Really good fit. And that just totally finishes off the back of the Rangie. That's made a nice improvement to the back of the Range Rover. Definitely looks a lot more complete now. But it's still missing something pretty important. Any guesses? That's right. What is a Range Rover without a tow bar? It does actually have the original Westphalia tow bar bracket under there with a 50mm receiver hitch, but no tow bar itself. The reason for that is when I got the car, it had the original Land Rover quick detachable tow hitch with the swan neck, which had probably been fitted to the car from when it was new and literally never taken off. So the quick detach mechanism on that tow bar was completely seized up. There's literally no way I could get it unseized, and the locking mechanism was broken as well. Now obviously that worked fine for the previous owner, he left it on there the whole time, but personally I'm not a big fan of the quick detach type tow bars. I would never feel like I could 100% trust it, especially as I wasn't able to undo it, so I wasn't able to check if it was functioning properly or not. So I took that off and threw it away. Now that's fine, it cleans up the look of the back of the truck a bit, and it also means you don't shin yourself every time you walk past the back of the truck. However, in the next few weeks or so is a possibility I might actually need to use the Range Rover for a bit of towing. More to come on that later if I do. But to prepare for that, I've actually bought a new tow bar for the Range Rover, which we're going to fit now. Let's check it out. So this is what I've bought to replace the original removable tow hitch that was fitted to the Range Rover. I guess this is what you would call a drop hitch, but it's basically a 50mm box section that fits nicely into the receiver hitch at the bottom of the Range Rover. Secures in the original fashion using this slot and then a bolt that goes through this hole here to lock it into position. And then 3 positions on the front for you to fit your 50mm ball to adjust the height of the trailer as needed. And it's lovely and simple, very, very strong, made of very thick steel. This box section is 5mm steel, and then it's got a nice 10mm plate on the front here and a 10mm gusset and some nice beefy welds. It's a really lovely, strong, simple bit of kit, which is what I would like when I'm towing. So before we go ahead and slam the hitch into the receiver, I'm going to give the receiver itself a bit of a clean out with some solvent and some paper, and then we're going to slap a bit of copper slip on the actual receiver hitch itself, just to make sure it doesn't get seized in there, because it's quite a tight fit and it's in a very dirty area of the vehicle. So I can imagine in a year or two down the line, if I ever want to take it out, it would seize very easily. Now that might be overkill to some, but I'd rather make it easier to get out down the line rather than having to fight it in the future. So let's stick it in now. There we go. That's in nice and solid. Now we just want to take our big fixing bolt and whack it through that securing hole, tighten it up nice and tight, and we can attach our tow hitch. Again, going to put a bit of copper slip on this bolt just to make sure it's a bit easier to get out if we ever need to get it out in the future. Nice and tight. Solid as a rock. Forgot to mention the tow bar also comes with this nifty bumper protector. Not that mine needs it, as you can see it's already had a fair few impacts with trailers in the past, but you can stick this behind your tow hitch just to give you a bit more protection on the bumper, which I think I'll probably put on anyway just to be on the safe side. I'm actually going to go for the middle set of holes because I don't really know exactly where they need to go yet, but I think that's going to be somewhere near. Bit of copper slip on the back. I think this is going to be about a 4-digger job with my Milwaukee. That is tight. Now that may not be to all tastes, and it would certainly be no good off-road, unless you wanted to go ploughing, of course. But the beauty of the receiver hitch is it's literally one bolt to take the whole thing out. So you can just take that big bolt out across the back and the whole receiver comes out. So if you wanted to do some serious off-roading, it wouldn't be too much of an effort to pull that off. But for me, that's nice and solid, heavy duty, bolted onto the truck. It'll be nice and secure when I'm doing any towing in the future. I actually think it looks quite smart as well. So that's all the jobs I had planned on the Range Rover for today. As I said, not too much, nice and easy, but good to get them ready and get the Range Rover ready for towing a trailer in the next few weeks. As I get quite a few questions on the status of the Range Rover and what's going on with it, I thought I'd use this time to give you guys a bit of a quick update on the car, what I've got planned for it and what's coming up in the next few weeks. So if you're based in the UK or Ireland or anywhere in Europe really, you'll know the weather for the last few weeks has been absolutely sweltering. That would have been a time when it would have been perfect to have the air conditioning working in the Range Rover. When I first got the car, the air conditioning did work, but it kind of worked on and off. So it would work after I'd been on a long trip, the aircon would just about start to come through, but it wasn't 100%. As soon as the weather got really hot, the Range Rover decided that was the perfect time for the air conditioning to not work at all. So I've spent the last few weeks driving around in the Range Rover with the windows down and extremely moist underwear. In the spirit of this car and this channel and what I try and do, where I try and fix all the problems myself rather than just taking it to the garage, I bought a set of air conditioning gauges. So these are gauges that you can plug into the air conditioning ports on the system and you can actually read the pressures on the high pressure side and the low pressure side of the system as the air conditioning is working. And you can use those readings to try and figure out what's wrong with the air conditioning system and try and track down the fault. So the static pressure that I read in the system was actually about right, indicating there was actually about the right amount of gas in the system. So it wasn't that it just needed a regas, unfortunately. However, I noticed that when I turned the air conditioning on and off using the switch on the dashboard, the pressures I was reading at the gauges didn't actually change much or at all really. And from what I understand, that can be one of two things that could cause that. The first thing I believe it could be is a refrigerant control valve, which is actually a valve on the compressor that controls the amount of flow around the system. Because the aircon compressor on these cars is not a typical clutch design, it's a clutchless design with a variable pump. The second thing it could be is actually the compressor itself. So it could be that the compressor itself has failed and is failing to pump any coolant around the system, which would explain why the pressures don't change when the pump is turned on. Either way, both of those issues would require me to remove the air conditioning pump. So I've ordered another pump, we're going to get it changed over, hopefully next week, because I think we're due a bit more hot weather in the next few weeks and months. That'll be another strip down and repair video I'm going to do for you guys, so you've got that to look forward to. And then the other issue I often get asked about is the suspension on the Range Rover. As you guys know, I've had a long running issue now since I bought the car where the ride isn't quite right. It rides very harsh over bumps and over potholes and things like that. That's still not right, the car still doesn't quite ride as it should. Now I've done a fair bit of reading around on this issue of the variable dynamic suspension causing a hard ride. There are a few cases that sound a bit like mine if you read around on the forums, but the only real solution to this issue that I've seen online is quite a drastic one. So currently my plan is to replace all 4 dampers, so the 2 rear dampers and the 2 front struts, with non-variable dynamic dampers. What that means is I'll effectively be taking the system from an older L322, so 2002 to 2009, and taking their standard dampers and fitting them to this car. So I'll actually be deleting the variable dynamic system. Now your first reaction to that might be one of horror, because the continuously variable damper system on these cars is obviously the more advanced system of the two, and the idea of that system is to give you the best ride quality possible at all times. However, if you speak to any L322 owner from 2002 to 2009, I don't think you'll find any of them that tell you that their cars ride poorly. In fact, there's quite a few people that think the earlier cars actually ride better than the newer ones, even when the system's working properly. So there are a group of people that actually think the earlier Range Rovers, the earlier L322s, actually ride better than the later ones with the CVD system. Obviously, the CVD system does have advantages in terms of handling, but to be honest, the L322 to me is not a car that I really want to race around in. It's a car that I want to waft around in as much comfort as possible, and I think the standard dampers will be perfectly adequate in that regard. In any case, all L322s handle a lot better than the old sort of Range Rover Classics and P38s used to anyway. So to me, even without the variable damper system, I imagine it'll be perfectly adequate in terms of handling. The actual process of doing that will be quite interesting. We've obviously got to do the mechanical side of things in terms of switching the dampers over, but then there's also electrical side of things. So we're going to have to use the IID tool to actually edit the CCF of the car, the configuration file, to tell it that it no longer has variable damping. Because otherwise, obviously, it's going to trigger a variable damping issue, and I think that knocks out all kinds of other stuff like the ABS and the traction control, among other things. But But at the moment, I think that's going to be the best option for this car going forwards. The dampers themselves are cheaper for the future, if they ever need replacing again in the future. It's one less thing to go wrong as well on the car, and also I think it'll be quite an interesting video for you guys to watch, so we've got that to look forward to. The last video I've got in mind for the next few weeks is going to be a comparison between different types of diagnostic systems that you can buy for these cars. So we're going to do a comparison between a very cheap generic OBD2 reader, a slightly more expensive OBD2 reader, a bit more specialised, and also the IID tool. So we're going to compare all those three, see what each one of those can do, and see what the best option is if you've got a Range Rover like this. So that's what's coming up on the channel. I apologise to you guys for not doing updates more often. There's quite a lot of exciting stuff going on in my life right now, and hopefully I'll be able to share some more with you guys about that in the future, because it's going to be really exciting times, hopefully, both for me personally and for the YouTube channel, and the possibilities that's going to open up for us. But that's it for now, guys. I'm still loving the Range Rover. I'm going to keep making content for you guys. As you can see, there's plenty more coming up on the Range Rover, so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers. Ooh, sweetness.